Welcome to my recap of the performances by Mexican players and managers in Europe. This episode will cover the week spanning from August 22nd to August 28th of 2023. Let's get started with the Premier League. West Ham played against Brighton that were top of the table coming into the match and are expected to have a good season. Edson would make it into the starting 11 in this match, which West Ham would win 3-1. The match was pretty uneven, with West Ham sitting back, letting Brighton have the ball, and attacking quickly on a counter. And this worked wonders against Brighton, because although Brighton had 25 shots, only 10 were on target. And of those 10, Ariola, the West Ham goalkeeper, saved an impressive 9. He had a really exceptional game. Alvarez did too. He wasn't on the ball much, as was much of the team, but his positioning and defensive awareness could be seen, just as his composure on the ball. He was always scanning the field and maintaining a good shape with the team around him. The only mistake he made was an early lunge that allowed him to get beat and led to the Brighton goal in the 81st minute. Well, that and a foul that led to a yellow, but he paid for that mistake as the free kick pounded him in the head, and he seemed kind of injured after that. Edson only had 29 touches, but he also had 1 block, 7 clearances, and 4 ball recoveries. Overall, a great game by Machine, and I hope to keep seeing him in the starting 11 as West Ham discover if they can keep his form going against newly promoted Luton. This game was Edson's second appearance for a total of 93 minutes played so far in the league. Raul started Fulham's games against last season's runners-up Arsenal, a game in which third-place Arsenal was expected to come away with the win, but Fulham managed to get the draw somehow. The stats of the match definitely do not match the result, as Arsenal had 71% possession with an XG of 3.2, due to 11 shots on target out of a possible 19. This is compared to Fulham's 29% possession and 0.56 XG, coming from only 3 shots on target. Of the 8 shots that Fulham had, Raul had 2 of them, but one of them was blocked and the other was off target, giving him an XG of 0.13. This brings his expected XG for the season to 0.25. This was his third start of the season so far, and the first game in which he played the full 90 minutes. Overall, a good result for Fulham, and a decent game for Raul. Mitrovic's departure to Al Hilal assures that Raul, if he remains healthy, will get more game time than I previously thought. His composition includes just Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Muniz. Looking at the Premier League table after 3 games, Fulham climbed a single spot into 12th, thanks to the point they picked up against Arsenal. An important point that many believed they would not get, me included, to be honest. And on the opposite end, West Ham rise to second place with 2 wins and a draw, sitting ahead of Spurs due to goals scored. Heading over to Spain now, and we begin with Real Betis, who would play against 9th place Athletic Bilbao, and the game did not fare well for them despite taking an early lead. Betis would score both of their goals within the first 10 minutes thanks to a brace from Isco. But 2 penalties in the first half and a goal in stoppage time would send Athletic Bilbao ahead into halftime. Guardado came on as a sub for Marc Roca in the 74th minute and had an okay showing. He managed to complete 93% of his 14 passes, with 2 of them going into the final third and another 2 being accurate long balls. Unfortunately, on a Bilbao attack, Guardado failed to properly mark his man, who was free in the area, and he received the ball after it bounced off the keeper, and he shot it into an empty net, basically, killing the possibility for a comeback by Bilbao. Andres has come in as a sub in all 3 of his matches, so far totaling 28 minutes. Las Palmas played against 13th place Real Sociedad, a game in which Julián Araujo was given his first start of the season thus far. Sociedad's keeper, Alex Remeiro, tipped the ball onto the crossbar in the 19th minute due to a shot from Las Palmas. A penalty wasn't given in the favor of Las Palmas, and rightly so, as the forward went down a little too easily throughout the match. Once again, in the 83rd minute, Remeiro tipped a shot onto the crossbar as he earned himself man of the match with a total of 5 saves to end the match in a 0-0 draw. Las Palmas are unlucky to only come away with the draw, as they outperformed Real Sociedad, having a higher XG due to a higher number and more efficient shots. A good performance from Araujo as he completed 29 out of 39 passes, with one of those going into the final third. He also had 60 touches throughout the match, some of those coming after his 2 interceptions, 3 ball recoveries, and 2 tackles. This game brings his total minutes to 135 for the season after coming on as a sub in last week's match. Javier Aguirre's Mallorca would play against bottom of the table Granada. Once again, Mallorca lined up with a 5-man defense. The game started bad for Mallorca as they conceded in the 12th minute and missed a penalty just 6 minutes later. An equalizer given in the 30th minute after Fernandez, the Granada goalkeeper, got a hand on the shot but only managed to loop it into the net. Right after halftime, Granada scored a second from a shot outside of the box that took a deflection. Mallorca were lucky as they had a red card reversed into only yellow with 40 minutes to go. Their luck, however, ran out as 20 minutes later, a handball inside the box led to a converted penalty that put Granada up 3-1. A corner in the 87th minute led to a goal for Mallorca that gave them hope to try and draw the match, but it was not to be, as the match ended 3-2 after a stoppage time save from Fernandez. Mallorca had better quality chances leading to their higher XG, but just could not convert enough to outscore Granada. Mallorca are yet to win a game, as this loss drops them further down the table. Sevilla continued the losing streak against 4th place Girona, ending the match 2-1. It was not for lack of trying, however, as the match was fairly even, with Sevilla having an equalizing goal ruled offside in the 61st minute, and then a penalty rescinded in the 90th due to a handball that the refs deemed natural enough. Tecatito wasn't started and only came on in stoppage time for a single minute. He had possession of the ball twice before the ref blew the final whistle. This is Sevilla's 3rd consecutive loss, as they have had a horrendous start to the season after winning the Europa League last season. By the looks of it, they may actually struggle in the Champions League if they keep struggling in the league. Hopefully they do not, as Corona is only one of 4 Mexicans playing in this season's Champions League. Unfortunately, all the teams that feature Mexicans seem to have dropped position this week, with the lowest being Tecatito at Sevilla, who are in dead last with 0 points. 5 goals for them and 8 against leave them with a -3 goal differential. Although this is reason for worry, it's still pretty early in the season and a few wins can leapfrog them out of the relegation zone. A team that should be worried is Javier Aguirre's Mallorca, as they sit in 17th, with just 1 point and barely sitting outside of the relegation zone due to goal differential. One position just above them is Julian Araujo and Las Palmas. 2 ties and a loss leaves them with just 2 points. The only Mexican in the top 10 is Andres Guardado, and only just. Real Betis sit in 9th place, dropping after their loss. Fortunately for them, a win and a draw beforehand leaves them with 4 points. Now moving on to the lower leagues of Spanish football. Cesar Montes went yet another week without playing a match for Espanyol, an Espanyol that has been climbing the table and managed to squeeze out a win against Mirandés. Unfortunate not to score more, as they had 3 times as many shots as their opponent. Espanyol already rejected a €9 million offer from Almeria in La Liga, and rumor has it that they just received an offer from PSV for €10 million. Hopefully, the coach deems this sufficient and allows him to leave. Dutch football for Montes would be great, and he might also gain European experience, as PSV has qualified for the Champions League group stage. The 2 Mexicans at Sporting Gijón did not have a great week, as their side lost 2-0 to Racing de Ferrol. Carrillo has yet to play any minutes of the season so far, while the slightly younger Lozano was once again used as a substitute, coming in the 63rd minute for left winger Gaspar Campos. In his 27 minutes, Lozano was able to complete 5 out of 7 passes, 2 of which were into the final third. Additionally, he recovered the ball twice from Racing. Unfortunately, his efforts were not enough, and as a fan of Santos Laguna, the parent club of Carrillo, who he is on loan from, I desperately want him to get some minutes later in the season. Looking at the league table, this drops Gijón down to 13th place, as they only have 1 victory to their name. And on the opposite side of the table, even without Cesar Montes playing, Espanyol keep climbing the table, as their win puts them in 2nd place, tied with the team that beat Gijón, Sporting de Ferrol. Espanyol continue their unbeaten streak and have a great start to the season, sitting in one of the 2 spots for automatic promotion, with the next 4 qualifying for the promotional playoffs. A division lower, and Rafa Marquez did not have a great start to Barça Athletic's season, as they lost 1-0 to Logroñés. This early loss puts them tied 16th, but it's still too early to judge how the season will play out, and hopefully his results improve. Moving across to Italy and those players playing in the Serie A. El Chucky failed to play Napoli's second match against Sassuolo, a game that, aside from Naples, should have won more comfortably if not for the lack of clinical finishing. Napoli could have and should have scored at least two more, as they had about as many shots on target as Sassuolo had shots total. As Sassuolo down to 10 men from the 55th minute onwards, not to mention. Napoli managed to hit the woodwork twice and missed a penalty, yet they still completely dominated the match in its entirety. Unfortunately, Lozano was not able to partake in the fun. I hope he gets some minutes soon, even as a sub. Genoa played against Lazio and came away with the win, despite having the less impressive statistics. Vasquez found his name in the starting 11 as the left back. In the 11th minute, Vasquez had a cross turn into a shot that hit the far post and bounced away. What a spectacular goal that would have been to give Genoa the early lead. Genoa striker Retugi scored in the 16th minute after the Lazio keeper parried a shot into his feet. Johan had a great game as he completed 20 out of 31 passes. Defensively, he was solid with 1 block, 6 clearances, and 7 ball recoveries. These 90 minutes brought his season total to 210, as he previously had 30 minutes in last week's game and 90 in the Coppa Italia fixture. Additionally, he has 1 goal to his name this season so far. Memo Ochoa still has his spot cemented as Salernitana's first choice keeper, as he started his second league match against Udinese. A few saves in the first half were capped with an amazing diving save just before the half to keep the game scoreless. A corner from Udinese hit 2 Salernitana players and was headed for goal, but Memo kept the ball out to avoid an own goal. A wide open shot from an Udinese player that nobody was marking fell into the bottom right corner and was too much for Ochoa to handle, giving Udinese the lead in the 57th minute. An equalizer in the 72nd minute allowed Salernitana to rescue a point from this match. Memo conceded a goal, but he had 7 crucial saves to keep Salernitana in the game, compared to Udinese's keeper who only had 3 saves to make. In his 2 league starts, Ochoa has made 8 saves but conceded 3 goals. Looking at the table, this second consecutive draw dropped Salernitana down to 12th place, but they keep their undefeated record so far. They need to do much better defensively if they want to see their position improve. Just above them in 11th is Genoa, who with their first win of the season now sit on 3 points. Getting some points on the board raise their position, and if they want to remain in the league after promotion last season, they need to continue with good performances against good teams. Last season's champions keep their perfect record and are in second place, just behind Milan on goals scored. The top of the table is already looking very interesting, and it will be fun to see how far Napoli will go before they begin to drop any points. Now moving north to the Netherlands. Feyenoord thrashed and dominated 15th place Almere City 6-1. In a win the Feyenoord desperately needed, as they had drawn their first 2 games of the season. Santi took a shot in the 3rd minute that bounced off the right post and went in to start the onslaught of goals. The game was actually temporarily postponed due to a thunderstorm in the area, but once the game resumed, Feyenoord ran away with it. Santi scored a penalty in the 65th minute to complete his brace. This brings his total goal tally so far to 3 out of an expected 2.53 in only 332 minutes over 4 appearances. Ajax didn't actually play in the Eredivisie this week. They played against Bulgarian side Ludo Goretz in the away leg of their Europa League playoff round, the winner of which will be advancing to the Europa League group stages, while the loser will drop down to the Conference League groups. Either way, Ajax is guaranteed European football this season, but Sanchez might not care as much, as he is 100% headed on a season-long loan to Porto. There is an option to buy at a price of 4 million euros, with it becoming mandatory if he makes up 15 appearances for Porto. I believe this is best for Jorge, as he hasn't made a single appearance for Ajax so far. Although at Porto, he will have to compete with Cajaca and João Mario for that right-back spot. Sanchez leaves Ajax with them sitting in 5th place and arrives at Porto with them sitting in 3rd. Additionally, Porto are in the group stages of the Champions League, so Sanchez could possibly get minutes in the Champions League for 2 seasons in a row. Ajax has yet to play the 3rd league game, and due to that, they dropped to 9th place. They have yet to lose a game, however, tying one and winning the other. A win in their game in hand can easily take them to the top of the table, but other teams also have games in hand, which won't be played until the end of September, so it's important to keep those in mind. Feyenoord does have all 3 of their games played and sit in 6th place. Their actual position is slightly lower, as wins from other teams could drop them, but they are also undefeated so far. They'll hope to improve the results if they want to repeat as champions. Moving slightly to the south, Belgium is up next. Genk played Turkish side Adana Demirspor, which now have Nani playing for them, in the first leg of the Conference League playoff qualifiers. Genk played at home and hoped to cement a spot in Europe after their downward spiral from Champions League qualifiers to Europa League qualifiers and now to Conference League qualifiers. Arteaga did not play as he was kept on the bench in Genk's win. Genk was able to win 2-1 thanks to a 90th minute header from a corner. This is the fourth straight game that Arteaga has not made an appearance. So far this season, Arteaga has only made 4 appearances out of a possible 9, and 2 of those was as a sub for a total of 275 minutes. In his appearances, he has an XG of 0.48 and an XA of 0.44. But looking ahead, Genk must win the second leg if they want any European football this season, as this is their last chance after losing in, like I said, the Champions League and the Europa League qualifiers. In the league, Genk are in 6th place with 7 points. Moving to the east with the Greek League. AEK Athens finally played their first league game after only playing in the Champions League qualifiers for the first 3 games of the season. Talk about high stakes to begin the season. Although AEK dominated the match with 82% possession and almost as many shots on target as Panserraikos had in total, they only managed a 1-1 draw despite missing a penalty. However, in a turn of events, Pizarro was given a spot in the starting 11, and it was Orbelin who came off the bench. But looking at their stats, it would seem like it was Pizarro who came off the bench, and Orbelin had an amazing game in the second half, completing all 55 of his passes, 11 of which were into the final third. He created 1 more chance than Pizarro with only 2. But he only had 5 less touches, while having 5 recoveries and 1 interception, which Pizarro had none of. Pizarro did have 4 shots, however, 1 of which came off the post and almost won Athens the game. The single draw puts Athens in 8th spot and gives them room to improve if they follow this up with a win. And finishing up with the Premier League, but not the one you're thinking of. It is done. Luis Chavez is officially a player for Dynamo Moscow in the Russian league. He joins them after they have just tied against Rubin Kazan 2-2, a fairly even game that drops Dynamo down to 5th in the league from 4th after 6 games. They are also in the group stage of the National Cup. It will be interesting to see what Chavez can accomplish with Dynamo. Hopefully, his decision to join this club isn't one that he comes to regret. So, this is it for updates on the Mexican players as of this week. If you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to keep getting updates in your subscription box. And pues todo. Ahí nos vemos, raza.